All right, guys, welcome back. Episode 7 of the Raw Intuition Health Show. It's great to have everybody here. I can already see you guys in the chat, so thank you everybody for joining. This week, I am joined by an incredible guest. We have Dr. Ben Alter here from Alter Health. Dr. Ben is a naturopathic doctor practicing out of Colorado with his wife, Dr. Susanna Alter N.D. When not working with patients or doing research, you can find Dr. Ben cycling, hiking, doing yoga, high interval training, just being active outdoors and enjoying time with his family. So, in today's episode, we are going to talk about ways you can take your life from average to awesome. I think that's something that everybody, there's always some improvements we can make. And so Dr. Ben and I have been, on this path for quite a while, and we'll hear a little bit more about his path. But, for me, I've just experienced so many internal and external transformations in my life since, learning about whole food plant-based diet and just healthy living in general. And so that's what the show is about. We're going to help you guys out there who have been looking for a little inspiration or education on, how to take your life to the next level. And so let's bring Dr. Ben on. Here he is. How are you, Dr. Ben?
Let's go. Doing great. So stoked to be here and share this passion with you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me just... can we get a comment in the chat? Does sound it's working for both of us? I know that's been
Okay.
that's been the issue.
You sound great on my end.
Okay, you sound
I
good
hope
on
I
my
sound
end.
as good as you.
I think it does. It's
Cool.
yeah. So it sounds good to me. It sounds perfect.
Cool.
But yeah, every week there seems to be some issue with the audio. So, but I think we finally might have gotten it. All right. Thank you, Muriel. She said we're good. So. Yes. And just as a reminder, at the end of the second half of the show, you guys, as always, we do the live Q&A. And one lucky person that asks a question in the live chat's going to win a free ebook. And today, it's going to be a copy of 5-Star Salad Revolution. And so you'll get a copy of that. Just send me an email at matt@myrawintuition.com. And I will get you that ebook. So thank you everybody for being here. All right, Dr.
Cool.
Ben.
I also have a prize as
Oh,
well.
you do?
We didn't even talk about this, but I
Yeah,
hope it's okay.
of course.
Is it okay if I share right now?
Of course.
So we're doing a cleanse that starts in just a couple of weeks, and Susanna, my wife, said, "Oh, you could offer a free enrollment to the cleanse, which
Wow.
is a $99 value." So if anyone's,
Amazing.
but then again, like I don't want to force anyone because obviously this is a voluntary thing, so we're not
Yeah.
dragging you in. But if you want to cleanse with us in a couple of weeks, yeah, it's yours.
Wow, that is very generous. Thank you so much for offering that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there you go, guys. So definitely stick around to the end and hold your questions to the Q&A, and then we will pick a random person to win those prizes. So that's awesome. Okay, well, shall we start off with the topic discussion of how to take your life from average to awesome? How long, before we get started, how long have you been on this path, Ben, on the whole food plant-based or just your health path?
Yeah. When did it really start? Man, I'd say I became quote unquote vegan the first time around 2011.
Okay.
And then actually when I was in naturopathic school, there's a big kind of paleo energy through the program. So that kind of rubbed off on me, not like entirely, but I
Yeah.
did start, I had chickens in the backyard. I started eating some eggs, started eating some fish. When I met Dr. Susanna, she was more omnivorous. So I had about a year of omnivorous eating, and then I kind of went back into whole food plant-based all in.
Okay.
Because we don't have to get off on a tangent, but I was really like not a healthy vegan to start. Okay. So, I was depleted, I was malnourished, wasn't eating enough. And then I started learning about nutrition, biochemistry, and everything. And I started eating enough of the right foods the second time around. So that was about 2016 when I kind of went all in the second time, you know,
Yep.
whole food, plant-based all the way. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a journey, and I think those experiences are super helpful just for the trial and error, and just seeing how different ways of eating affects us. And I know you're big into the mind body connection,
Yeah.
and really getting in tune with that. So yeah, that's cool stuff. And yeah, I'm sure you'll have more to touch on the mind body connection today. But do you wanna talk about your first, what the first thing is that you would say for how people can take their life from average to awesome?
Yeah, man, there's so much, right? So
Yeah,
I was chewing on this question, like three things, and I don't know in no particular order, right? But I guess I'll start with the first one being, how about a cold shower every day?
nice.
Um, Cold water, I think like a cold bat, like a cold what a cold plunge is ideal, right? But I
Yep.
don't personally have one, but everyone's got access to cold water.
Yeah.
And I think that it's gotten really hyped up in recent times, but it's so powerful in so many ways, from both kind of the physiologic adaptation, kind of this stress, it's called, kind of a gentle controlled stress that actually creates more resilience, but also the psychological thing, just being able to like do something that's really hard. And people always say, oh well, I really like cold showers in the summertime, but when it's winter, like I don't know. And it's like, that's when you should be doing it even more so, when
Yeah.
it's harder. And just doing that little hard thing every day, really ideally in the morning for our nervous system, is just a great way to kind of train ourselves on all sorts of levels. So I personally just got out of the cold shower before this call.
Nice.
And yeah, I think that's just one really easy. Again, the shower doesn't have to be a cold plunge, even though that's great, but everyone's got the shower. You can take your nice warm shower and then end with a minute or 30 seconds, or really whatever you can tolerate, on that given day.
Yeah, that's great. And like you said, it's like it's kind of getting yourself out of your comfort zone, right? Like that's where we kind of set the tone for the day, especially when you do it first thing in the morning. And yeah, taking that cold shower. I will admit that I used to do cold showers quite a bit, but I am one of those people that were like, winter time, because I'm here in Minnesota. I kind of got away from it. I never got back into it. I'll do it here and there, but this is reminding me I need to get back into that habit of starting, cold showers. So
Yeah, it's so good. And yeah, like I said, my favorite thing, and I have to admit, I'm not doing it in the winter here in Colorado,
okay.
but getting in a cold river,
Oh yeah.
I have broken through some ice to take a cold plunge a couple times, and I mean, there's nothing like that.
Hmm.
But again, when we're talking about, more of a habit, who's breaking through ice every day except for Wim Hof or whoever?
Right. Yeah.
So something that's just so accessible for us all. It's just that cold water out of the tap.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I saw on, so you have two Instagram pages, right? You have your Dr. Benjamin Alter, and then you also have Alter Health. I saw on Alter Health, one of your stories was you going into the river. So is that like a regular practice that you do, is taking dips in the river?
For sure. Yeah, that the Alter Health account is Susanna. She
Okay.
manages that entirely. But yeah, yeah, like I said, during the summertime, the river's about 60 degrees. Last night it was like 56 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's pretty cold. But yeah, in the summertime it's good, but I don't know. I don't need like the 32 degrees.
Yeah.
Especially when I'll for sure do that kind of thing out of a hot tub or a sauna.
Hmm.
That good contrast therapy is super powerful. But yeah, when it's cold outside and just getting in a cold river and, and walking home all wet, I don't need that in the winter time.
For sure. All right, cool. So my first one would be mine's kind of broad. So mine is raise your standards. All right. So the thing that I think has helped me a lot is, first off, recognizing that I had been accepting kind of mediocre results, just kind of setting the bar pretty low for myself when it came to really anything. My diet, even though I tried to be as healthy as, I could with the knowledge that I had, I still, I didn't put the maximum amount of effort. I didn't expect the most out of myself when it came to, eating, because I would have pizza and, Chinese, takeout and all these things. So, raising my standards with the food that I would eat, with the people I would be around, with the activities that I would do. I used to be big into going to the bars and partying a lot, and so putting myself in situations that didn't necessarily set me up for the best, results in my life was something that I was accepting, for myself. And so once I started to raise my standards, with so many different things in my life, that is when I really started to see, so many different aspects of myself personally changing, as well, my mindset, and just the results that I was getting. So, you know, even something as small as just being concerned about the quality of water that I was taking in. I used to drink just tap water, and I remember being in college, think I was just guzzling glass after glass of tap water and thinking like, wow, I can't believe I have this free resource that is so healthy for me. And then finding out later, there's fluoride and chlorine and, disinfection byproducts and all the aluminum and all these different things that are actually in tap water that, probably aren't the greatest thing to have going into the gut microbiome and into my body. So, yeah, just a lot of different things of raising my standards and not accepting just average for myself. Because when I did do that, I was getting the average results that most people are getting, chronic illness and, depression and all these different things. So, yeah, I think that you can really take that to any aspect of your life, whether it's the media that you watch, the entertainment that you consume, the music you listen to, the words that you speak to yourself. Really raise your standards in terms, I think maybe even just start there is with how you speak to yourself. That's a big part of, how you're going to show up in all the other areas of your life. So, work on, maybe you read the book, The Four Agreements. That's a great way to start, analyzing how you can start speaking to yourself a little better and showing up for yourself in a better way. And yeah, so that's kind of my first thought when it comes to making your life a little more awesome.
Yeah, as you talk about that, one thing that comes to mind for me is just this feeling about how we don't really know what we're missing out on.
Yeah.
It's like we're kind of, if we don't really know what the next level is ever. We're like our viewpoint of the world is always just from where we're at. So just, maybe even like before we raise our standards, consider that there might be something bigger, better, like feel, more expansive out there.
Yeah.
And because I know a lot of people, I've for sure felt super stuck, like, so just being open to those possibilities is huge as well.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, love that. Well,
Thank you.
the next one on my list, you already mentioned in your share about raising your standards, and that's water, and
Mm,
specifically drinking mineralized water has been a game changer for me.
nice.
I think like you mentioned about drinking tap water, obviously you need to get rid of the stuff that's not supposed to be in the water, all of the toxicities that are just kind of normal
Yep.
in most tap water supplies. But also we need to acknowledge that if we get rid of that stuff with some good purification process, reverse osmosis, whatever, our water is still going to be depleted from a lot of nutrients. And I'm not talking about like carbs and protein and stuff. I'm talking about like the minerals that create the life in the water,
Sure.
which are naturally there when we get spring water, of course. So we can recreate a little bit of spring water by just adding some minerals back into our water. And that those minerals, by the way, of course, you probably know this, Matt, another term for them is electrolytes.
Yep.
A lot of people are like, oh, can I add electrolytes instead of minerals? Like electrolytes are minerals, and they're called electrolytes because they electrify the water. They bring charge to the water, which actually charges up and maintains electrical balance in our cells in our body. So it's hugely important. It's not a trivial thing. And when we are drinking mineralized water, we allow our bodies to be so much more deeply hydrated. A lot of people I've observed and people that I've worked with, people just don't have a thirst for water. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why people don't have a thirst for water is they're not drinking water that their bodies absorb and utilize. So they don't want it. But once people start drinking proper water, there's a real thirst that turns on, and you start craving that hydration that your body has likely been missing out on for, in many cases, decades, right?
Yeah.
So mineralized water, there's a bunch of different mineral options out there. I like liquid drops that you can just drop in. My water's out in the other room. Usually it's on me all the time, but
Same.
anyways, yeah, it's a game changer for me.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm big on water. What do you think about I distill my water, and then I'll put like lemon or cucumber slices into it to infuse it. What do you think? Would you say that's
Yeah,
a good way to go?
for sure. So a lot of that's very common, of course, like squeezing lemon in water, and lemon juice is of course going to be a source of minerals, as
Uh-huh.
well as, infusing anything is going to bring some minerals and also different phytonutrients into that water.
Hmm.
Um, I like to do that and minerals to add, like, the minerals are a little bit of just this insurance policy,
Sure.
which, I don't, 100% of my water isn't that mineralized water. It's good to just kind of like flush the system with something, uh, you know, blank.
Sure.
I think like that feels good for me. But also, yeah, mixing the minerals with, I also, especially in the summertime, one of my favorite drinks is, I've got a sparkling water, like the carbonated water
Okay.
creator.
Yeah.
So I'm not open up cans all day. And
Right.
then I'll make carbonated water, and then I'll put some cherry juice in there,
Mm.
or, just a little bit of, with some minerals. And that's like, man, that's like super, my body eats that up in the summertime after like a bike ride or a big hike.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, to answer your question, I like the kind of fruit beverage, or like the fruit infusion. And to me, it feels better even with a little additional minerals on top of that.
Okay.
It's kind of like nature's Gatorade.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually one of the reasons why I was so drawn to things like Gatorade back in the day. I used to drink all the vitamin waters and things because I thought that it was a clean source of good hydration. But I later found out that the added colorants and different sugars and things that synthetic sugars and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think water should be the main source of hydration, outside of our
Yeah.
food. Fruits and vegetables obviously have a terrific hydration, is a source of hydration. Yeah, I mean, i think
Yeah.
I think having a good source. Oh, I was going to ask you, with spring water, do you drink, and not like a black and white statement like maybe sometimes it would happen, but um, I always wonder if spring water, would you recommend filtering spring water straight from a spring? Like,
Certainly depends. Yeah.
yeah, I just
So
don't know, like with the contamination levels and things with all the stuff that's in the environment today. Like, that's been because I used to get a water from a spring, and then I got kind of concerned about that. So what are your thoughts about that?
So if you have a good pure spring, I'm not so what spring water is, it's been filtered through the earth,
Sure.
it's
Sure.
been filtered through the earth and comes out pure. And
Okay.
from my perspective, unless that spring is in some industrial place with other, contaminants right there,
Yeah.
it's going to be really good.
Okay.
I have gotten sick from drinking spring water. Little side story. There's a spring at a place that I go, and it's like all boxed up. And then one year there was there was like a piece of wood missing from this box, so there's a little gap in the box, and I was like, oh, like I guess a bird could poop in there and contaminate the spring, like, but that probably didn't happen. So I filled up some spring water, and then a couple days later was really sick with some GI bug.
Oof.
So anyways, long story short, like, yeah, like, you want to make sure if you are getting it from an actual spring, you want to make sure that it is like, pure and tested
Sure.
for those sort of impurities. Not necessarily, again, unless you're in some industrial place,
Hmm.
more of like impurities from, runoff from, in Colorado in the mountains, it's like cow or elk or deer poop,
Right.
which creates giardia, the parasite. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
All right. All right. Anything else you want to share
on
about?
water.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a huge rabbit hole, huge tangent, huge area of my interest for sure. Well,
Cool.
you were talking about like vitamin water and Gatorade,
Uh-huh.
and honestly, those things aren't that bad, except for the toxins.
Sure.
From a hydration perspective, we like they're great. But we can create that, we can make that sort of thing by like exactly what we were saying, adding the minerals and a little bit of fruit juice, you got yourself a Gatorade. Like that's the way
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Cool. Sounds good. So then my next one would be, now this is one that I still am like on my journey with. I'm still working on, but it's to learn how to separate your feelings from who you are. Because I know, so a lot of people, including myself, have, it's easy to identify with your feelings, and when you do that, um, you know, whether it's for especially somebody online, creating content, they'll really invest themselves in the good comments that they get, people praising them, and then also then they can get a bad comment that they'll just ruminate on, and they'll, somebody will, there's trolls out there, they'll probably, give you some mean comments or something, and so, um, the feelings that we get from reading both the good comments and the bad comments, recognizing that though the feelings we get from both of those is not actually who we are. Um, and so, one person can read a comment and feel good from it, and another person can read that same comment and feel, bad about it. And so, just understanding that we are not our feelings, we are our thoughts, um, will determine in a lot of times how we feel about something, our perception. And so understanding that you're not your feelings was like an eye-opening thing for me, to be able to step back and recognize that I didn't have to identify with things I was feeling in the moment. And so cravings is a big thing that I think people do this with, where, um, anyways, in my personal experience. So this is kind of how I have come to really eliminate. I don't really have cravings not necessarily anymore, but I sometimes I do have thoughts that pop into my head where I'm like, oh yeah, that might taste good, or that'd be kind of fun to eat. But I recognize that that's just a transient thought that I don't have to identify with. And so it's become easier for me in that, in the craving sense, where, if I smell something that smells appetizing, but I know it's not something that I would ingest, because I've raised my standards, changed my definition of food. But you know, recognizing that, because a lot of people that I've worked with, they seem to, they identify with those feelings, and they feel like, they label themselves maybe a food addict. I don't necessarily care for the idea of labeling yourself a food addict. You're a person, you're a person that maybe behaves or has addictive behaviors, but you yourself are not a food addict, in my opinion. So I think when you label yourself a food addict, you kind of create a little bit of hopelessness or a little bit of helplessness, where, if you say you're a food addict, that's just who you are, right? And so you can't really change it if that's who you are at your core. So if you recognize that, I've in the past I've had addictive behaviors, I've given in to cravings, but as long as you know that that's separate from you, then you can change that behavior, and you can change the actions that you have in those situations, or the thoughts that you think that lead to those situations or those actions. So yeah, that's just been one of the things on my journey that I've really found helpful, is to separate myself. And I'm not saying, be a robot and don't feel your feelings, right? Like, of course, we're humans, we have feelings, we're emotional beings, but having, that bigger picture of, you are, separate from those transient feelings that might lead you into wanting, whether it's, binging on junk food, or, some other self-sabotaging behavior. When you recognize that it is just a behavior that you can learn to change over time, because you learned that behavior, right? You didn't start out as a baby with that behavior. You learned that behavior. So you can also unlearn that behavior, or learn a new behavior to replace that. So yeah, that's been one of the things that has really helped me, and just looking at it that way, so that I give myself more empowerment than kind of being a victim of certain labels. So yeah, hope that makes
Love
sense.
that. I think that's a super powerful one that is huge, huge. And obviously another kind of 7-hour conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
or more, lifelong conversation.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things on that topic that really helps me is just like there's all these metaphors and meditations, like the river or like the sky. And it's like you are not the clouds in the sky. You are the backdrop on which the clouds pass through, right? Like, and it's so easy to conceptually understand that, like, oh yeah, I have good feelings and bad feelings. But then, when the rubber meets the road and we're really kind of like gripped by a feeling, it's like, yeah, how do we relate to it then? And kind of having, from my experience, like all we need is a microsecond, a fraction, just like a little sliver to wedge in there and realize, like, okay, just to your point, like that's not me. This is just my experience in the moment. I'm something bigger and better and greater than that. And I can allow that experience to flow through me and learn from it, gain insight and not identify with that. And it's just, yeah, so grounding and empowering. And I think there's also like some kind of strategies and practices that can support that, like, putting your feet on the ground and closing your eyes and taking a breath and letting it go, and looking outside or calling a friend, and anything. Sometimes I call it like changing the channel. It's like, oh, if we don't like what we're experiencing, then change the channel. And that can
Yeah.
be anything from opening the window, going outside, doing something new. And we're going to give ourselves a whole new life, a whole new world in that moment. So
Yeah.
thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Um, yeah. So I think you're,
We on the third and
yeah,
final.
we're already there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I saved the best for last here. I don't know what you got up your sleeve, but the best for last for me is being grateful for everything,
Yeah.
everything. And this is kind of new to me. Like it's I've kind of obviously felt grateful and had kind of gratitude practices, if you will, quote unquote, in the past. But I've been reconnecting with this on a deeper, newer level recently. And again, it's not just being grateful, it's being grateful for everything. So when all the terrible things happen, which inevitably do, there, life is not just rainbows and unicorns. So when like the shit hits the fan and when things get ugly, it's like really being grateful for the richness of that experience and the learning that is coming through that experience. Another way to put it, I don't know if you've seen this YouTube clip that just kind of resurfaced in my consciousness from Jocko Willink, who is, I think it's like good,
Mm-hmm.
something didn't happen, good. This happened, good. And just like really relating to your life as everything is good, because that's what life is. Life is just giving us stuff.
Yeah.
Life is for us. Life is not happening to us. Life is happening for us. And specifically, I believe for the purpose of evolution and growth and learning and expanding. I think just having that relationship with life is so hugely transformational. And it's not easy, who said it's going to be easy?
Yeah.
But the harder it is, like the richer it is, and the more we, get from it, or the more we can get from it if we
Yeah.
have that kind of shift of mindset, shift of relationship. So again, for me, a work in progress always. It's like I'm failing on this one all the time, feeling victimized all the time. But that's the kind of anchor north compass pulling me to that feeling of gratitude, because man, there's so much to be grateful for. Even if like there's one thing that's just driving me nuts, I can't stand it, then just don't even, just focus on all the good stuff. And
Yeah.
then that's that, like the solution is created for that so-called problem, if it is a problem. So anyways, yada yada, blah blah blah. Gratitude.
Yeah, no, that is also another one. I mean, that could be a whole show in itself. Just the benefits of gratitude and the perception that I think people choose to, the lens people choose to view their life and the actions that or the situations that they're experiencing. Yeah, just everything, as you said, is happening for us. And I don't think we should want it to be easy, right? I think we should expect and look forward to overcoming challenges, because everybody here has overcome a challenge, and you recognize the growth that happens within that. And so I think, for me personally, there's so many things that I could have looked at where, it just seemed like I had just drawn the short end of this, the short stick out of the batch. And, just one example that I've talked about many times, and that was my hair loss. And I, 16 or 17 years old, I started to lose my hair. And I just thought it was like, it was truly the most terrifying thing that, I thought could ever happen to me. And it just consumed my life for, many, many years. Just doing everything I could, just obsessing about, reversing hair loss or stopping hair loss. And it was at the time, it was very traumatic. It was, but it was also, it shaped me to really, I mean, in many ways, it shaped me to have more compassion for others that are struggling with things, and empathy, and seeing things, seeing other people's struggles and understanding what that's like in some way. It also taught me that I am more than my physical body. I am not, my value does not come from my hair or from anything else physical. We all have innate value that we should all, embrace and be proud of, and express as best we can. And so, yeah, having the gratitude for going through that situation, I think really catapulted me into so many other, you know, things in my life. I put myself out there to go to, different retreats and certification courses that, before in my late teens, I would have never done because I was too afraid of, my hair situation and all these, thoughts that I was looking at in a distorted way. And so getting the gratitude and just the empowerment that comes from that um, gave me the courage to one just shave my head and just accept just accept me for who I am and just shave my head and just be done with worrying about the hair thing. And that allowed me to just dive into so many other things, like I said, going to certification courses, meeting new people, experiencing new experiences that before I would have held myself back from due to the way that I was looking at that. And so, yeah, the finding gratitude in things that really challenge us, while it might not be easy, it is so transformational. And I think, yeah, it's just a super powerful point to make. So, yeah, thanks for throwing that one in there.
Yeah, just one last note on just the gratitude conversation with regard to health, because that's kind of what we're talking about generally, and what certainly what I talk about professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Really what it looks like practically is when people are struggling with chronic symptoms, there's such a tendency to just look at that problem, and just that problem, whether it's a stomach ache, and it might be really bad stuff going on in your body, that might be really painful, but there's a tendency to look at that and focus on that, and that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if we just acknowledge it, where it's not like we're trying to just deny reality, we acknowledge that that's happening, that's exists, that imbalance is there, but we also broaden our perspective to see the countless blessings and the miracle of life. And just, we focus on the good stuff. And then that, it's not magic. It's like science. The nervous system comes into a new state of balance and harmony and peace that allows for every cell to soak up the nutrition and nourishment from that psychological feeling. So it's when we're in that state of judgment and just hyper focus on the problem, we're constricting and we're literally making it worse. We
Yeah.
don't realize it, but we are. So if it's so counterintuitive, and again, such a difficult thing in practice when we're in the thick of it. But again, it's something to open up to and lean into and do our best with.
Yeah. 100%. Well said. Um, Anything else on that point before I put in my third one?
Take it away.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the best. I don't know if I saved the best one for last, but this is maybe the most practical one, or the easiest one to implement, maybe that I brought, and that is just to prioritize sleep, because I think most people in our culture have lost the value of sleep. They think of it as not a necessary like health building thing. They just look at it as kind of an
I'll
inconvenience.
sleep when I'm dead.
Exactly. Yes, I can't. My history teacher or one of my teachers in high school would always say, "You can sleep when you're dead," and and I kind of liked it. I liked that thought, and so and with the entrepreneur, the online entrepreneur wave, everybody's trying to be an entrepreneur. Um, that mindset I think is really pervasive in the probably every section of society, but especially with people that are like trying to do their own thing. It's really about a grind, and yeah, sleep a few hours and wake up early, and work late into the night, wake up early, get your work in. When I give the example in my book 21 Day Raw Transformation Program, where there's two lumberjacks going at it. They're at a competition to try and chop the most wood, and the first lumberjack he's, first off, they're going at an even pace. The first lumberjack decides he's going to stop and sharpen his axe, and the second lumberjack just keeps going because he just wants to get, through everything as fast as he can. And so it looks like the second lumberjack is going to win because he's taken the lead. He's out in by a good amount. And then the first lumberjack comes back with the sharp blade, and now he's just slicing through that wood like butter. And so he ends up winning the competition because he took the time to sharpen his blade. And I look at the brain the same way, and sleep. Getting in sufficient sleep is not only going to help you sharpen your cognition and just your focus throughout the day, it's going to help you with things, especially people that struggle with, binging and cravings and just issues with their diets. It helps you stay focused on your goals, and also it makes your decision making so much better. It makes you know, your will stronger, I guess, and it just gets you thinking more clearly at the situation when you run into a craving or something like that. So that's something that I think more people should focus on, is getting in enough sleep, like whatever it is, 7-8 hours, and getting to bed early if possible. I think sleeping early, before midnight, at the least, is important. And yeah, I just think it's going to help so much your immune function, energy levels, your productivity, just your overall well-being. Um, yeah. What do you think about the importance of sleep?
Man, it's so sad how insomnia is such a pervasive issue in our culture. And I think it really is at the heart of so many other health issues. Obviously it's not, it's pretty close to a magic pill, in terms
Yeah.
of like just curing everything. And as you were talking about, like, just it gives you the clarity of mind, and kind of the mental performance, obviously, but also we can't forget that when we're sleeping, our body is in the most pure regenerative state possible. We think about, like, oh, a good calm nervous system, meditation, whatever, Zen life. Well, nothing compares to your body's Zen when in sleep, and specifically good restorative deep sleep. So yeah, there's that magic that's happening. Also, as you were talking about the lumberjack thing, I was just thinking of this summer. One of the things I'm really into is endurance sports and biking, cycling in particular. And there's a guy. His name is Lachlan Morton, and he's a ex Pro Tour rider, and he just set the record for the Tour Divide route that goes from Canada through the mountains to Mexico. And he took a totally different strategy. Most people in the past, it's been all about sleep deprivation and just going through the night, and like some people sleep like an hour a day or
Wow.
less. But he prioritized sleep, and he was high performance each and every day. And I'm not talking about like 7 or 8 hours, but at least he was sleeping way more than most people typically do.
Yeah.
And he shattered that record by like a day. He did it in just over 12 days.
Wow.
So anyways, like, it's definitely, sleep is huge. And I think that there's this idea of like, oh, I can, sleep on the weekends and then I'll be okay during the week. But your body really doesn't like that. Your body likes rhythm, routine, consistency. So yeah. And when you're talking about, just finding your bedtime, and again, I'm not an expert. I'm not personally perfect with it. I go to bed way later than I want to
Me
most
too.
nights, just because now that I have I've got a almost 1 year old, and she goes to bed, and then it's like, oh, my wife and we've got this precious time, and then it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
Congratulations, by the way,
Oh,
on the
thank
child.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine that raising the child is sleep depriving activity for sure in the beginning, at least.
it's not, we've been blessed. It's been pretty good. She sleeps pretty well during the night.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's truth be told, we realized early on that it's actually our cats that keep us keep us from sleeping optimally. Just the meowing and jumping on the bed here and there. Uh, but anyways, yeah, there's things that we can do, that can optimize our sleep environment with or without animals, with or without children. Yeah,
Yeah, that's so
good
cool.
one.
Yeah, thanks. Um, I had something that popped in my mind a few minutes ago. I can't remember what. Maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah. So I've been seeing a few questions in here already. So it looks like we've got a couple that we can start with once we get into the Q&A. But before we get into the Q&A, I just want to give everybody an opportunity to know about Dr. Ben's different uh, resources out there. So you guys
Well, thank
do,
you.
yeah, one-on-one consultations as well as you have some courses. Do you want to just share with people, where they can
Yeah,
get more
just
information?
for sure. You can go to www.alter.health, no.com, just alter.health. And yeah, my passion is the kind of education stuff, which I, like honestly, there's so much stuff out there that is so applicable to everybody. I don't think everybody needs one-on-one support. I think that most people just need some like broad education, and then yeah, maybe there's some one-on-one support that goes on top of that. So that's kind of my passion, is just helping people kind of sift through all the nonsense out there
Yeah.
and gain insight. Yeah, we've got a lot of nutritional education, and the newest program that I'm super passionate about personally is a mind body healing program all about TMS, or tension myositis syndrome,
Hmm.
which is really the manifestation of stress in our body to create physical symptoms, whether it's chronic pain or other hormonal imbalances or anything. So yeah, got a program on that. And yeah, we also do one-on-one support, and yeah, work with my wife, and it's awesome.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. So I will
Yeah,
put, actually, the links are already down in the description box. So anybody that
thank
wants
you.
to check that out, highly recommend it. Dr. Ben and Dr. Susanna. I've watched much of their stuff, and they clearly know what they're talking about. So, you'd be in good hands.
Cool.
So I definitely recommend it.
Cool. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, let's get into the Q&A. We're gonna hop over into the classroom here. So here we go. Look at that.
Cool. I wish
Okay.
I could see.
Yeah, yeah, I know. With
I
your
know I've seen the show before, so I kind of know him, but I can't see it on my end.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we got the blackboard behind us now, and we've got the chat up. So any questions you guys that you want to ask, please put them in the comments section or the comments box, and we will get to as many as we possibly can. I already saw one before, and it was from Sherry. Sherry wanted to know what are the minerals called that you use to add to your water?
Like the name of the product.
Yeah. Is there a certain one that
Uh,
you prefer? Or?
yeah, it's funny. Actually, I don't have zero affiliation with any, but the one that I've been using is the most commonly available one, called Trace Mineral Research Concentrace, in a blue bottle. And someone on Instagram just reached out and sent me another one called Aussie Minerals
Okay.
from Australia. And I have to admit, I'm very intrigued by this Aussie stuff, this new stuff, because it's sourced from like a very pure place in the South Pacific, like I don't know, whatever ocean, the Arctic Ocean, the Antarctic, I don't know,
I
down
don't
there,
even know. Yeah.
South Australia, like super remote, as opposed to the Salt Lake, the Great Salt Lake in Utah, which is where the trace minerals come from the concentrates. So,
Okay.
anyways, those are two products that I've been using that feel really good in my body.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. What else do we got here? Uh, Tessa loves the lumberjack analogy. Thank you, Tessa. Oh, and it's Annie's birthday today. Happy birthday, Annie. That's I love that you're spending
October
your birthday
1st.
with us. Yeah, October 1st, great day to have a birthday for sure. Okay, let's see. Are there any Okay, here we go. Does Dr. Ben use any type of salt to mineralize his water?
So salt, I'm assuming that you mean sodium chloride. Like that's what salt is, even though, or that's what generally people mean by salt, even
Hmm.
though salts are many things. Salt is just a chemistry term for an anion and a cation together.
Okay.
So I don't recommend that people add table salt to their water, even though that is technically an electrolyte. Most people are not really deficient in sodium and chloride. Most people need a better balance of electrolytes and specifically higher potassium or magnesium. And that's what these trace minerals provide our water. But if someone, with the caveat, like if someone is sweating a lot, doing high intensity activities outside, losing a lot of sodium through sweat, then for sure there needs to be a little bit more sodium replenishment. But for the vast majority of us, the vast majority of the time, we shouldn't be eating or drinking more salt, more sodium. That being said, sodium is for sure a small ingredient in all of these mineral supplements, just because it's a major mineral in the body and major mineral on the planet. But it's not the one that we should be prioritizing for our cellular hydration.
Terrific. Um, he had a follow up. Do you differentiate table salt from like pink Himalayan salt or anything like? Is there a difference in your mind?
Not really. Table salt is 100% sodium chloride, and the most mineral rich salts are like 94% sodium chloride.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's going to be other minerals in pink Himalayan salt and Celtic sea salt and black salt and all these fancy salts, but there's still predominantly sodium chloride. I don't know what your thoughts are nutritionally,
Hmm.
Matt, about adding salt to foods a little bit, but it's something that is for me kind of a slippery slope, because we can get, for sure our taste buds get really bombarded with that sensation, and then we can get into kind of the pleasure trap. And most people are not deficient in sodium. We can get plenty of salt from our whole foods, from vegetables like celery, most abundantly. So yeah,
Yeah, I have the same view. I personally don't add salt to really anything. Maybe very randomly I'll put a little salt in a recipe or
yeah,
a dressing or something, but typically 99% of the time I don't do it for myself. I don't add any added salt because yeah, I agree. I think the perfect source of sodium is going to be through our vegetables and different plant foods, and so that's where I get mine. I've never had any uh, sodium issues, deficiencies or
yeah,
anything. So yeah, I think most people, like you said, have too much sodium and probably not enough potassium, and so they're,
right.
if they would get it from just whole foods, they would probably be better off.
Totally. Yeah. That being said, I have myself become hyponatremic
Oh
from
well,
because I don't eat salt and I don't drink salt water. And the first time I had a big day in the mountains, I sweat a lot in the summer.
sure.
I was drinking water without good electrolyte replenishment, and the more water I drank, the worse I felt.
Wow.
Because I was getting myself deeper and deeper into lower and lower sodium.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that is a real thing. I do want to certainly acknowledge that, but
Sure.
again, that's kind of like not everyday health stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, and that's what I like, when people acknowledge that there's not always just a black and white answer to a lot of questions, maybe to any question, but there's some gray areas where, in some situations, one time you might say yes to adding salt, and then another situation you might not. So,
oh yeah,
yeah.
I was also going to say that one of I don't know what your feelings are on this. One of my favorite ways of adding a little bit of salt or sodium is with coconut aminos.
Okay.
Um, that's like and then that's like there's salt in that, but there's also other minerals in that.
Yeah.
Also like the Bragg's liquid amino, the soy aminos, not my favorite, but it's a source of sodium as well as other minerals. So anyways, that's a good way to like definitely make food flavorful. It's again, kind of a slippery slope with that, but
Yeah.
at least it's more mineral balanced than just salt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Or even something like miso is something that I've used in
Yeah.
the past too. So,
Yeah.
yep, totally. Okay. Sherry says, is Dr. Ben cooked or raw? Does he think cooking destroys enzymes and nutrients?
Yeah. So I'm cooked. I have been more raw at various points in my life, but where I'm at now is I'm maybe 50-50. Like I eat cooked dinners like 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So I believe that cooking destroys enzymes. Yeah. It does. I don't think it's a belief system, it's a scientific thing. But I think that when it comes down to, I think there's ways of eating raw healthfully for sure. I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult to cover your bases. It's difficult to eat enough. And for the majority of people, it's a lot easier to cook foods and starchy vegetables and whole grains and legumes and get, because those, when we're cooking foods, we're deactivating enzymes, but we're also, gaining access to all of the other nutrients that are in those plants that we can eat. So yeah, I'm all about just kind of finding that individual balance with, combining cooked and raw foods. And maybe it's going to look like this one day and that the other day. And that being said, on our cleanse that we like to do 4 times a year, the goal of the cleanse is to kind of get to raw vegan for a day or 2 or 3 because that is kind of the most detoxifying way of eating. It's the
Mhm.
most hydrating way of eating. It's going to give us the most. But again, for the vast majority of people, in my experience, it's really difficult to sustain unless we're living in tropical environments and that sort of thing. So
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
Yep. It's definitely more challenging to be all raw. And I don't promote, all raw unless somebody has the means to do it. Like you said, if they're in a good environment to do it. But yeah, I think there's definitely flexibility to find that right balance for yourself. And I mean, that's what I've done for myself too. So, let's see, what are Dr. Ben's thoughts on colonics?
Um, I, it's a thing. Uh, I I prefer stuff going one way and not the other. um, I can't say that I'm an expert in kind of in anything related to colonics. I am an expert on optimizing bowel function
Nice.
naturally. And I think that that's kind of the goal, is to create sustainable, healthy bowel movements so that we're eliminating stuff regularly. Like most people, our transit time, the time it takes to go from mouth to anus is like 5 to 7 days. That's like normal, quote unquote,
Yeah.
not healthy, but normal. Healthy is like 1 to 2 days. So there's ways to create healthy transit time by eating whole foods, drinking good water, getting movement, sleeping, regulating the nervous system, being grounded. All of these kind of things kind of eliminate the need, from my perspective, of needing colonics. But if someone's super toxic and backed up, and then I'm sure they have their place.
Cool. Yeah, I did do, I think I've maybe done like somewhere between 5 and 10 colonics in my life, and that was early
So
on in my
colonics or enemas, or
uh they said colonics.
okay,
So like
because yeah, they're yeah. But you've done colonics or enemas yourself?
Both. I've done both.
Both, yeah.
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 Yeah. In the very beginning, I did colonics because that's, I was just learning about colon cleansing and all this stuff. And yeah, it did actually, I personally, I felt that it benefited me. But I think, yeah, it's definitely, probably not 100% necessary. I think through natural colon cleansing, like I'm sure you teach, is
Yeah.
sufficient as well. So yeah, I, I can definitely get on board with that.
We're on the same wavelength there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see. Muriel says I am 68 now, doing more. And I want to point out, Sherry said Dr. Ben looks very healthy. So yeah, there you go.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Um, Muriel said, I am 68 now, doing more raw, and I'm losing weight, which is awesome. I am overweight. The issues I have is staying raw throughout the day. Evening is hard. Any suggestions?
Um, well, my suggestion is do what feels good.
Yeah.
Like that's always uh yeah, I think this is like a bigger picture thing for me. Like there's people have this relationship with dieting that it's like, oh, I should be suffering. And no, you shouldn't.
Right.
It's okay if you want to suffer for a finite period of time, but anything that you want to do for long with any sort of longevity or sustainability should be enjoyable, like thoroughly enjoyable. I'm not talking about like pretending to like kale chips or something like that, like actually enjoyable. So if you're not like enjoying how you're eating and living, then find ways that are enjoyable but are also nourishing. um so anyway, that's kind of just like the broader philosophy.
Yeah.
But what else do you have to add?
Um, yeah, I mean, what I try to help people do is kind of like Dr. Ben said earlier, is find that balance that works for you. Don't get fixated on being 100% raw if that's gonna, be stressful and give you more, anxiety about the way that you're going about your weight loss and healing. You can add in, I recommend having, making salad the main course of your dinner, and then adding in any, cooked meals that you want as a side to the salad, and make it as much, I like to get people to commit to eating at least half or three quarters of their salad before they start including the cooked food. That way, they make sure they get in all the greens, because I think greens are super important, before they fill up on some of those maybe starches and other things. So that's what I would do. I would say, learn how to make a 5-star salad, and you'll learn how to make a salad that like satisfies you and is just full of sustenance and nutrients and all the things that make you feel like you ate a meal. But if you're struggling, with feeling satisfied, then bring in, whatever whole plant foods that you enjoy: potatoes, beans, rice, lentils, anything that's going to help you. And these are all still very uh, low calorie dense foods, so it's not,
Yeah.
it's not gonna hinder your weight loss. It's gonna help you because, as Dr. Ben said, you want to find something that is sustainable and that you enjoy doing every day. And so if that's gonna get you to enjoy, feel solid in what you're doing, it's going to be more of a long-term thing. And so just white knuckling an all raw diet doesn't work for a lot of people.
Mm.
It leads to binging and backtracking and all this stuff. So yeah, just find ways to include cooked foods with your salad. I think for me anyways, cooked food digests way better when I eat it with a salad. If I was to eat just a pure cooked meal, it wouldn't eliminate as well. It wouldn't digest quite as well. So when I eat it with a salad, that makes a world of difference. And so again, I'm just really big on the leafy greens, filling up on those as much as you can, and then supplementing that with as much cooked food as you need to feel comfortable.
Yeah. I don't know if you get too much on this point in your work, Matt, but one interesting thing about weight loss is that people are really focused on calories,
Yep.
but being in a calorie deficit actually slows down metabolism and prevents weight loss. So calorie deficit can get you weight loss for a week or a month, or I don't know, some finite short period of time.
Hmm.
But then metabolism adjusts to accommodate for that lower calorie intake. So in order to really release weight, we don't need to be in a calorie deficit. We need to have a healthy metabolism. And we need to help
Yep.
a healthy metabolism by flooding our body with nutrition, and having a balanced nervous system and sleep and hydrate, So it's so much more than, just being in that low calorie state.
Yeah.
It's being in a hyper nourished state and a balanced nervous system state.
Yeah. I love that. And I saw a video where you talked about that, and yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think that's, that can help people understand more of the eat more, weigh less concept, where you're eating more food,
Yeah.
um, you know, really nourishing your body and giving it everything it needs to have a healthy metabolism and, healthy elimination and all those things to, yeah, have
Mhm.
sustainable weight loss. So yeah, that's a great point. Um, and I believe you have a course called, is it Eat More, Way Less? Is that a course that you
It
guys have?
is, yeah.
Yeah,
We've got a
cool.
course specific on that metabolism stuff.
So cool.
And I think, in the whole weight loss thing, it's such a mindset shift,
Yeah.
fundamentally, that's really what it is. Because again, it's kind of back to that, what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about our points and making our life awesome.
Yep.
People who are wanting to lose weight really focus on that so much, in
Yep.
my experience. Like that's kind of their life, is like weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. And then it becomes really difficult, because that's like, but when we focus on our health and feeling good, weight loss is just a natural side effect,
Right.
just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And that's, yeah, it's so important to have that holistic mindset of approaching it, holistically, looking at not just the weight, but all the other, yeah, important factors that play into just having a healthy body overall, so that, yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
it's just a healthy consequence of that. So, um, let's see. Carl, Fruit Scotland says, I'm always cold, even in summer. How do I feel warm? No deficiencies. Says he has no deficiencies.
And this is like a raw thing,
Uh,
or
I don't know if Carl, are you? I don't know if he's 100% raw or not.
well, my our body temperature. So I would be curious to know what your thermometer reads when you take your temperature.
Mm,
Most people, there's an epidemic of low body temperature.
wow.
Like, of course, we learned that, normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. But I don't take people's temperature anymore. But in medical school, as a intern, in clinic, take people's temperature. I would never see anyone 98.6. It was always 97.4, 97.2, maybe 98.1.
Hmm.
But I don't know what your experience is, Matt, but there's an epidemic of low body temperature, and that's really pointing to an epidemic of toxicity and sluggish metabolism.
Mm,
Because toxicity in our body actually slows down our basal metabolic rate, because the toxins kind of want to hang out in our body and stay secure.
hmm.
And as we speed up our metabolism, there's a risk of dislodging those toxins to be excreted. If anyways, so there's this epidemic of sluggish metabolism. So that's really if the core body temperature is low, that's really what it's pointing to, is just the basal metabolic rate. And of course, some people say, oh, well, it's, maybe low thyroid hormone or this or that. But fundamentally, it's just your metabolism. So we want to focus on increasing metabolic rate by eating more, eating more good stuff that is cleanly, efficiently converted into cellular energy. And so that's like, if that's the answer, if your core body temperature is low based on like a thermometer reading.
Mhm.
If you're feeling cold, then it might be a circulation issue, which taking a cold shower will really help with. If you feel cold, get cold, and then you'll be warm. Also, there's some herbs that can help with our circulation, like cayenne pepper and cinnamon, and things that can kind of like increase what's the term? They're diaphoretics or something, that they kind of like increase the peripheral circulation.
Okay.
I really like to use more of those when I'm, in the winter time, because I still like my smoothies year round, even when it's snowing outside.
Me
And,
too.
so I'm using more ginger, more cinnamon, a little cayenne in the smoothie even. So anyways, just some thoughts there.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing what like a day in the life of Dr. Ben's eating wise? What does that look like?
Sure. So yeah, smoothie every day, but usually, a lot of hydration before smoothie. So usually my breakfast is a little bit later in the day, 10, 11 o'clock, depending on what's going on. And yeah, usually in the smoothie, there's probably 7 or 8 servings of fruit, 5 bananas, some berries, mango, whatever. Uh, and greens and green powder that we make ourselves, and other kind of nutritional powders depending on how my body's feeling. I'm really into kind of nutritional food-based supplements in my smoothie.
Cool.
So big smoothie, and then lunch kind of varies. A lot of times it's leftovers. A lot of time there's baked potatoes in the fridge and a salad or something like that. Maybe in the summertime doing more melons for lunch, just a big fruit lunch. And then, like I said, usually dinner time is a cooked meal with a lot of starch,
Nice.
potatoes, beans, whole grains, and a lot of that stuff. And also, the non-starchy vegetables as well. Every dinner, to your point about the salad, every dinner, despite how much cooked food we're eating, we're always starting with a big fresh salad.
Cool.
So yeah, and then snacking, I eat when I'm hungry, and some days I'm more hungry. And a lot of people, I used to have this idea like, oh, I haven't been that active today, so I shouldn't eat. Like I try to intellectualize how much I should eat,
Yeah.
and that's kind of a hard thing to break, but also it's really, it can hold us back. So really listening to your body. And some days I have hungry days, and it has no, like, has no real correlation to how active that I am. Maybe I was really active for a couple of days, and then I was in maybe a calorie deficit for a couple of days, so I need to replenish like the next couple of days. So I just kind of do my best to forget about like all these kind of shoulds of how much I should be eating, how much of that I should be eating. And at this point, it's really very intuitive listening to the body.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Um, Carl says, "Wow, this makes so much sense. Thank you, Dr. Ben. This is gold." Yeah, thank you
Right on.
for sharing that.
Cool.
FF says, "What do you think of taking vitamin D supplements for people who live in colder climates?"
Yeah, we need vitamin D. And most people are deficient. Actually, despite where they live, most people are deficient. And of course, the best thing that we can do is get more sunshine. But that being said, a lot of people who get plenty of sunshine are still vitamin D deficient, because it's not that black and white. It's not like sun equals vitamin D. There's complex processes that allow vitamin D to be synthesized in your body. The most common nutrient required for vitamin D biosynthesis is magnesium. Most people are deficient in various forms of magnesium, so they stay deficient in vitamin D despite how much sun they get. Yeah, vitamin D supplementation tends to be one that I recommend kind of broadly,
Yeah.
and the dose is just dependent on where someone's vitamin D status is. There are some kind of rules or suggestions for how much vitamin D to take, but for kind of baseline maintenance, about 1,000 IU per day or 10,000 IU per week. And I personally don't take supplements daily. So I dose every week or every other week with just kind of a mega dose of vitamin D myself.
Okay.
And again, I do a lot of time outdoors, get a lot of sunshine, and I still kind of do that myself personally as kind of that insurance policy.
Okay, cool. Um,
Yeah.
what do you have thoughts on like mushrooms? People that like I know some people like to put their mushrooms out gill side up in the sun for a while to get vitamin D production. And then
Yeah.
I have a vitamin D lamp, a Spurdy lamp. Do you have any opinions on that sort of stuff?
I can't say that I've heard of these things. I can't say that I've actually seen, the science to
Yeah,
see how that really is absorbed and how that affects vitamin D levels.
yeah,
But it's definitely a thing, But again, like I think that it's so easy to take a drop of vitamin D every week.
yeah,
That's just kind of what I recommend, just to add, as that insurance policy, because vitamin D deficiency is just so not worth it,
right,
because it's not a vitamin, it's a hormone that is involved with so many processes. And I've heard kind of controversy in terms of like, I think it's Dr. Pam Popper has talked about a lot about like people shouldn't be supplementing with vitamin D.
yeah,
People should be figuring out what's causing their vitamin D deficiency, but I just haven't really gone there myself personally,
okay,
you know.
yeah. Fair enough. And as you were talking about the magnesium deficiency, I was just thinking all the more reason, people, to get more greens in your diet and learn how to make
Mm,
these big salads because you're gonna get a lot of magnesium from those dark leafy greens. So
totally.
yeah. Um, Muriel. So again, she's asking about the mineral drops. It was either Aussie or what was the other one?
Concentrates.
Concentrace.
And
Okay.
to be honest, I'm not sure of the brand of the Aussie minerals. I'm
Oh,
sure if you Google Aussie minerals, yeah, AussieTraceMinerals.com.
okay. Cool.
Yeah, just been trying that literally for 2 days.
Nice.
But yeah, they seem the same and maybe have a better source. So
Okay. Awesome. Well, guys, any other last minute questions? I'm not seeing anything in here, so we can go ahead and pick the winner of the ebook and to get a free admission into Dr. Ben and Dr. Susanna's it was a cleanse, right?
yeah, the fall cleanse
A
starting
fall.
on October. 2 weeks from today is our first phase of the cleanse. So
So
if
cool.
you're up for it,
All right. Yeah, that's incredible. So let's see. I'm just gonna pick somebody here at random. I I need to get like a I keep
random
saying this
number
every week.
generator.
Yeah, I need to get a generator of some sort to do this. But um, you know what? Why don't we go with Muriel? Muriel, you had some really good questions today, so I appreciate your participation. And yeah, so Muriel is the one. So feel free to email me at matt@myrawintuition.com. And yeah, we'll get you all set up for that. And I'll get you over to Dr. Ben for
Cool.
the cleanse. So yeah, thank you so
No pressure,
much.
Muriel. No
Yeah,
pressure, Muriel.
For sure.
I do have to say that our cleanse is pretty unique. Most cleanses are like kind of restrictive and kind of, and our cleanse is all about just boom, just flooding the body with all the good stuff. Like, I'm sure it would be, I'm sure you would approve, Matt.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Yeah, it
Cool.
sounds incredible. So, yeah, again, Muriel, just email Matt at myrawintuition.com and then we'll get you all set up for that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ben, for all the incredible wisdom and advice that you provided today, and answering all the questions. Great having you. Hope to have you on again in either the another show or just for an interview. I mean, we should get you on the for the YouTube channel, get you an interview to just kind of talk about more, your experiences and your story and that sort of thing, so people can get to know you.
Hey, let's do it. Yeah, it's such a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better, Matt. And thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for sharing your passion, wisdom, experience, knowledge with us all. And yeah, I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of the fall season here, soaking in all the changes and continuing to stay nourished and connected with nature.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, we're getting into a beautiful time of year. Although a little stressful for some people with the holidays coming up. So, just more reason to really, again, raise your standards, improve your water, improve your sleep, improve, your thoughts, all these things heading into the holiday season. And, check out Alter Health. It's not .com, you said, right? It's just
Alter.health.
alter.health.
www.alter.health. Yeah.
Cool. There you go. Check out all of Dr. Ben's resources to really get you going on the right foot heading into the holidays. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Dr. Ben. And thank you, everybody else, for joining. It was a great show, really great show, and great participation from you guys. So, I always appreciate that. Tune in next week, same time, same place, and we'll do this all over again. I don't actually remember what next week's topic is, but I'll be sure to post it on the socials here coming up in the next few days. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.